Hello, AI enthusiasts. Welcome to a new deep dive. Building on our previous talk about conditional probability, we are now ready to tackle the engine of reasoning itself. Most videos on Bayes' theorem never show the dynamic updating perspective. In this video, we want to show something different, how you can mathematically change your mind as new clues arrive. Think of it like a detective at a crime scene. Before looking at any evidence, you have a list of suspects. This is your initial belief. As you find fingerprints or witness reports, you must update those beliefs. Bayes' theorem is the exact mathematical recipe for that update. Every investigation starts with a prior belief. In our detective story, this is the probability we assign to a suspect before we even step into the room. Yes, if we know suspect A has a history of similar crimes, their bar might be higher than the others. This set of initial probabilities is called the prior. It represents our state of knowledge before any new evidence is considered. In the world of mathematics, we represent this as the probability of a hypothesis being true. We visualize this as a distribution across all possible outcomes. Now, imagine we find a fingerprint at the scene. This is our evidence. But evidence doesn't speak for itself. It has a likelihood. We must ask, if our suspect were actually guilty, how likely is it that they would leave this specific fingerprint? Think of it like a filter. If the suspect is very careful, the likelihood of finding a print is low, even if they are guilty. This conditional probability, the chance of seeing the evidence given that the hypothesis is true, is the second key ingredient in our formula. Before we can update our belief, we need to know how common this evidence is in general. In our mystery, a fingerprint could have come from our suspect, but it also could have come from an innocent bystander. We calculate this by summing up all the ways the evidence could have appeared across every possible scenario. It acts as a normalizing factor. If the evidence is very common, like a generic footprint in a busy mall, it won't help us narrow down our suspects much. Now we reach the heart of the theorem, the posterior. This is our updated belief. We take our prior probability and multiply it by the likelihood of the evidence. Then, we divide by the total probability of that evidence. The suspect, who was already likely and who matches the evidence, sees their probabilities skyrocket. This is the mathematical process of learning. We are not just guessing, we are refining our internal map of reality. To truly see Bayes' theorem, look at it as a ratio of areas. Imagine a square representing every possible world. We split it vertically into guilty and innocent based on our prior. Now, we add a horizontal layer representing evidence found. The only worlds that matter now are the ones where the evidence actually appeared. Our new probability is simply the area where guilty and evidence overlap, divided by the total area of the evidence strip. Not all clues are created equal. A blurry photo might be slightly more likely if the suspect is guilty, but it could easily happen if they are innocent too. This is weak evidence, and it barely moves our prior belief, but a DNA match is extremely unlikely to occur by chance. In Bayes' theorem, the strength of a clue is determined by how much more likely it is under one hypothesis versus another. Think of the DNA match like a powerful magnet that pulls our belief toward the truth. There is a famous saying that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Bayes' theorem explains why. If our prior belief in a suspect is near zero, then even strong evidence might not be enough to make them the prime suspect. The math forces us to multiply that tiny prior by the likelihood. Even a large likelihood multiplied by a tiny number results in a small posterior. To overcome a very strong initial skepticism, you need evidence so overwhelming that it outweighs the starting premise. The most beautiful part of this theorem is that it is recursive. Today's posterior becomes tomorrow's prior. As our detective finds clue after clue, a fingerprint, then a witness, then a motive, the probability distribution keeps shifting. Each piece of evidence builds on the last. We are constantly updating our map of the world as new data flows in. We don't just reach a conclusion once, we are in a constant state of becoming more certain as the evidence trail unfolds. Sometimes evidence can be misleading if we ignore the background noise. Imagine a test for a very rare disease. Even if the test is 99% accurate, if the disease is rare, most positive results will actually be false alarms. This is because there are so many more healthy people who could trigger a rare mistake than there are sick people. In our detective story, if mud is common all over the city, finding it on a shoe doesn't mean much. The final step in our calculation is normalization. The resulting numbers might not add up to 1. But in probability, someone must be the culprit. We scale all our updated values so they fit back into a perfect circle. It's like redistributing the weight on a scale. As one suspect becomes less likely, that probability mass flows into others. This conservation of probability is what allows us to compare different hypotheses fairly. Bayes' theorem is more than just a formula. It is a mindset for navigating an uncertain world. It teaches us to start with an open mind, to look critically at the strength of new information, and to never stop updating. Our detective has solved the case not by jumping to conclusions, but by letting the math of evidence guide the way. Thinking like a Bayesian helps you turn the fog of uncertainty into the clarity of evidence-based truth. Subscribe to master the art of updating your perspective with evidence.